Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the GallowgateShots podcast and YouTube channel. And we are back with another match reaction. It is myself, Kris, your host today, joined by Scott and Iain. Well, boys, and I'll come to you first, Iain. We were not expecting that result last night, were we?
Not at all. We'll go over it in a second as well, but especially seeing the team sheets. I know it was City's second squad, but there's still I'm sure the commentators were saying something like £330 million worth on their starting 11. And we were fielding Lascelles and Dummett, who, again, we'll come on to them in their performance, but were with us in the Championship all those years ago. So it shows the levels, but definitely wasn't expecting the result. And it made a very nice surprise, to be honest, the result.
It was a nice surprise. Scott, you have just got back from New York, so I'm imagining you were watching that game through tired eyes last night. But could your eyes believe that back four when you first seen it?
Yeah, I mean, you see the starting lineup and you just think, okay, we're not going for this year. This is taking the back seat. But I mean, as Iain said, doing this, we'll get to later. Happy to be proven wrong there. Yeah, I mean, I think it was it 10 changes in total. I think only Nick Pope kept his spot, which, if I'm being honest with you, that's more surprising that we've still played Pope and not used another keeper.
Scott, do you think it's because he's had nothing to do in the last game? It's an 8-0 win against Sheffield United and he barely touched the ball.
Keep him
maybe
sharp.
Sheffield, he was just lying down, wasn't having a cup of tea. I also think maybe it tells a lot that Dubravka wasn't in the side. Maybe they don't want him to be cup tied for a potential January move. I'm not an ITK, but you'd think Dubravka would be the keeper that would start these sort of games, and that's what he's been promised, and to not even make the bench, speaks volumes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the major shock for me and everybody that watches his podcast will know that the fact Lascelles and Dummett starting at centre back scared the living daylights out of me. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that team sheet, I was walking the terraces behind the East Stand, heading up towards the ground, and I thought, oh, this could be a tough night for the lads. It really could be. But like Iain said, unbelievably happy to be proven wrong once again by Eddie Howe. Let's just jump straight into the game itself, though, Iain. And it was a difficult first half for Newcastle. A lot of possession for Manchester City, and you just felt as that first half went on that a goal was going to come. Yeah,
100%. I think there was a stat, I think it was around about the half-hour mark. We had one touch in their final third in the whole half. It's testament to Man City, if anything else, that they've made all those changes and they're still an absolutely unbelievable football. I think, in fairness, the first 10 minutes, I think, would pass the ball around a little bit better. Joe Linton done very, very well in the first half, breaking up their play, and I think it might have been his interception or his tackle that led to our best chance, or arguably the best chance of the half.
It was good to see Joe Linton back, Iain, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I haven't been quite sure when his return was going to be, so that was a very welcome surprise.
Yeah, it was a massive plus, and I think out of the midfield three of obviously Hall and Lewis Miley as well, he was sort of the shining light, and that's no disrespect to Hall or Miley. I mean, it's literally a baptism of fire. I mean, one's 17 years old, hasn't played. Hasn't started a competitive game. Lewis Hall's just come in from loan. I think he's only 18, 19. So, and to be playing up against a midfield that has Croatian international and Kovacic, Jack Grealish, Calvin Phillips, they're not bad players by any means. But like you say, as the half went on and on, you just thought, right, this is where they're going to score. Although to sort of argue against that, I think there was maybe only 2 or 3 times when they really got in behind. They had all the ball, but I think there was that chance that Alvarez had a shot and it sort of curled in and then out.
Went for a throw-in.
I think, yeah. And then Pope made a very good save with his toe, sort of flicked it away with his toe. But other than that, like I say, they had loads and loads of ball, but didn't really threaten that much.
Yeah, no, you're right what you're saying, and Scott, I'm not sure if you're on the same opinion, but I think when it got halfway through that first half, you were thinking, right, just get to half time. Yeah, just keep it 0-0, and let's see how we perform second half, because you could see changes coming. And I think obviously we've got that chance just before half time as well, where Jacob Murphy smashes out the ball, and it's a great save by the keeper. And you're thinking, all we need here is another chance like this, and we can get on the score sheet. But obviously half time comes, and there's two changes, and I think those changes were right from Eddie Howe. I think he got it perfect, because Hall was struggling. He really was struggling on that side, and even Miley is a bigger fan of we are of Miley and what we've seen earlier in the preseason, the Premier League series or whatever that was called, or in the States. He did well. Coming up against that midfield that Iain has mentioned, looked a little bit lost, and it wasn't just him; it was all of them. But they did look lost, couldn't get a foothold of the game. So Eddie Howe does what Eddie Howe does best, and makes these tough decisions, and makes the two changes, which is Bruno and Gordon comes on. And as soon as that second half, Scots, we mean business.
Oh, it was, the famous phrase is it's a game of two halves, and that is the epitome of that performance last night. I mean, yeah, I think to touch on Miley and Hall, maybe it wasn't the right decision to start them against a City side like this. You'd probably want to bed them in against, if we ever got a lower league side, although, we all know what the next draw is.
Well, apparently we don't get those anymore, Scott.
So maybe it's not, but, maybe it's even, you would have thought if you wanted to give minutes and rest players, that might have happened against Sheffield United at the weekend, or it might happen this weekend against a team like Burnley. And that's no disrespect to those two sides, but they're no Man City, right? And you come against Man City, and as Iain said, they play their second string team, and they've still got 300-400 million worth of players on the pitch, and you're just thinking, well, it could be a bit of a bad thing to start. Maybe players who haven't even featured at all this season. But like I said, halftime came, made the changes. I thought Gordon, yet again, coming off the bench, was standout. Absolutely amazing. It's just his ability of getting the ball and just getting it up the field, but then being able to keep the ball and do something with it, which we've maybe missed. We've had the getting the ball up the field part, no problems, but keeping a hold of it and waiting for players to join them, that's a new area that we've now got down that side. I think
what would highlight as well, Scott, it's not just that. Let's say when he's making these decisions, and let's say if he loses the ball, he grafts his arse off to get back and stop any sort of break. He really does, and that's something which we'll be missing. He's such, and I said this on Monday night's recording, he's such an aggressive player, and I'm saying aggressive, like not as in physically aggressive, but mentally, where he wants to do really well for this football club, and you can see it a mile off. He doesn't give up on anything.
He's oozing confidence as well, which is only helping his game. And then also Bruno. I mean, I think Sheffield United in last night were getting the best Bruno back that maybe has been a bit gone missing over the past few weeks. He's ran the show again midfield. Arguably, one of the better players on the pitch when he's come on, and he hasn't featured for 45 minutes, which says it all. But yeah, it was just our intensity just was cranked up to 11. Like they just decided to play almost like how we played last season. And it was almost like the first half we kind of got Man City into a false sense of security, and they're just thinking, okay, they're just going to sit off this ball the entire game and try and catch us on the break, and we can play that game. That's not a problem. Teams do that to us all the time. And we just flipped on them. And it's like, when you play FIFA and the person's really bad, and then they give the control at their older brother, and he's really good in the second half, and it takes you a while for your brain to adjust how you're playing. It's almost like that happened with City. Like they just couldn't adjust to how much we had changed, and caught them off guard, and ended up getting the goal.
It's like Space Jam, innit? Where they have the MJ's secret stuff and come out.
They look shell shocked, Iain. They really did. They just couldn't handle us, in especially the opening 10-15 minutes of that second half. They really couldn't.
No, not at all. And it goes to what Scott said. The intensity just shifted massively. I thought, and me and Scott didn't have an argument, but had a sort of his sound. I thought it sounded really, really flat. You'll be able to tell we're better because you were there. Sounded flat in the first half, but then equally we didn't really do anything to get the crowd up. But that second half, I think there was a part in where Isaac closed the ball down in the strawberry corner, and literally the strawberry corner got on its feet like they had celebrated a goal. You seen, just to touch back to you with Gordon's intensity, literally tracks Kovacic from the left-hand side all the way over to the right, slide tackles it and puts it out for a throw-in. Like, just that intensity is what we were missing the first half. But I thought going offensively, I thought we played very well in between the lines, in between the line of the midfield, and that's where the goal came from, which, if you want to touch on now, obviously the pass from Lascelles into Murphy, and then that's what started the move off.
Yeah, so the pass from Lascelles. Lascelles have been trying that all night, to be fair, just direct passes. Obviously, a couple of times Lascelles doing what he does best and just hitting and hoping sometimes without even looking in the first half, mainly, just to clear the ball. But he was trying those things in the second half where it was just on the ball, just absolutely lashing them at the midfield. And Murphy, that decision making, just to shift his body and open up that space in front of him. Then like you say, he plays in Joe Linton, if I remember right.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Then Joe Linton just goes on a run into the box, manages to get across the 6-yard box, and obviously Isaac's there, gets a touch, and just Isaac just cool as ever, absolutely cool as ice, that kid, Scott, and just slots it in.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac gets the ball there, and you should already be on your feet celebrating, because unless it's a world-class goalkeeper ready to save, he's not missing that. Like, he's not putting that wide at all. I do think their defender, I don't know his name, he's only a young'un, could have done better to get rid of the clock. Get rid of the cross. Sorry, I'm got time.
Iain could get rid of that clock and tell you
what. I think he gets his feet mixed up and it just goes through him a little bit easy. Because I was surprised that ball got to Isak. Like, it wasn't a hard cross. It wasn't like a driven cross like you normally see. It was just kind of, it just seemed to go through every Man City player and end up at Isak's feet. Isak's control though of that ball with the end of his foot, like it was the inside of his toe almost, that could roll over your foot very, very easily. For him to stop that and have it flick up a little bit so he could get the shot away, outstanding. And then obviously the finish was what you all expect from Isak. The turn from Murphy, like I say, he just turned the player like he wasn't even there. And as you said, the ball from Lascelles to start it all off was just tip of the iceberg. Just really nice to see Lascelles kind of start that sort of play, because we've seen him do it in the past. Maybe it's in a lesser league or against a lesser side, but for him to do that against a Man City is, it's nice to see.
So apart from us scoring, I don't think there's much else really to talk about in regards to moments in the game. But there's a couple of things which I do want to mention. And the first one is what I mentioned at the start of the season. It looked like that shithousery from Newcastle had disappeared. I think we're starting to see it back now. Some of those challenges which were going in last night, and like Iain said, it was getting the crowd on the feet. It really was, because we've been missing that, haven't we, Iain?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've lacked that sort of bite, where we've looked a little bit, not that we're showing too much respect, but that we're not, we're a little bit passive and we're letting teams play. Whereas previous, last season, any time someone turned, you had maybe 2 or 3 players around them. I think your favourite player, to give him a shout, I think Dummett played exceptionally well. I think in the first half, I can't remember, it might be Grealish running through, and he slides in and knocks it away, stops a massive chance for them. And then that second half where the ball sort of just breaks and he literally slide tackles it into Man City's box. I thought the defence at Livramento as well, I thought was ridiculously good. I don't think really Grealish had
second half.
Didn't have a sniff. I think there was when that Doku came on, he turned him once, but that was it. That was as much joy as they got. But like you say, I think we're putting in challenges. We're actually showing that we are here to compete, and against Man City as well. It's nice to see, and hopefully that's again this last 10 days we've beat Brentford, went to Milan and got a clean sheet, got a record of
4 clean sheets in a row there now.
Yeah. Massive for confidence going into what is another massive week.
Yeah, it is. Scott, just because Iain has highlighted it there, is obviously the 2 centre backs coming in, Lascelles and Dummett, and like I said at the very start, I won't be the only one that saw those 2 names and thought, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one, especially not having the likes of Botman or Burn on the bench. He had Fabian Schär on there, and so he was the only option to come off the bench. But hopefully in these sort of games, you're not looking at making those changes at the back, because the lads there should be doing a good enough job. Yeah, I think I might have to apologise to Paul Dummett and give him some credit on this one, because He did have a great game. And do you know what it is? There's no denying this is what Paul Dummett does best in regards to these last ditch challenges sort of thing.
Yep.
He goes sliding. He's renowned for just absolutely smashing players into the East Stand because that's what he does. I've never had a problem with that. I think my issue with Dummett has always been how well he is on the ball. He always looks to take that extra couple of seconds and what needs to be. But I can't, honestly, I can't give him anything other than praise for last night, because you could tell that he's wanted this moment for a long time, and you could tell by his interview after the game as well. He looked like he's quite welling up a little bit in that interview, and saying that he's just been waiting for his chance. He's been fit for a long time, and he wants to prove Eddie Howe and what he can do wearing the black and white stripes. He got his moment last night. Whether or not we'll see him again might be a different story, but he got that moment last night, Scott.
He did, and he he grasped at it and took it with both hands, and like you say, did very well. Same with Jamal Lascelles. I've got no issues with either of their performances yesterday. I thought they were both standout. I mean, to go back at the first half, City had a lot of the ball. I think though they showed, and I'm not really one for XG, but the City's XG was like 0.5 or something, which when you've had that many shots and you've got that much of the ball, to not even be expecting a goal is not, it's testament to the way we lined up. And it was, and it's almost like a Rafa-esque performance at first half, where we just absorb all the pressure and look to hit them on the break. And then the second half was the Eddie Howe performance. And that's what it was. And again, I think looking at the lineup, you look at Lascelles and Dummett, they've been playing for us for like 8-9 years, and they're still getting into these sides now. And I think it's one of those things. But yeah, you can tell with Dummett that he's wants to play. But I think he accepts that his limitations are, compared to the other players we've got on the side. But if we've got a player like Dummett who will give his all when he does play, and, can play up and maybe even exceed his limits in sometimes, in the game, I'm happy with that. It'll do us for these type of games where maybe we do need to rest players because of the schedule that we've got coming up.
That's probably one of the benefits, Scott, though, just in with you, it's probably one of the benefits having a local lad that is going to be third, fourth choice in those sort of positions, because he's always going to come in and do a job because it's his boyhood club. And maybe I might be completely wrong. Maybe if it's somebody else from anywhere else in the country, anywhere else from the world, they won't put in that much effort compared to what the likes of Dummett did last night.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of credit there with a few players. Like, you look at Jacob Murphy, who doesn't really feature that much this season, but he's a Newcastle fan. I don't know if he's a local lad or not, but he's brought up a Newcastle fan. He clearly loves the club, and he just wants to play for us. And because of that, he's quite happy to, maybe play second string for a few of the games. You've got a couple of the youngsters as well who are coming through, like Elliot Anderson and even Lewis Miley, who, they're not getting that chances, but when they do, they try and take it. It didn't work so much for Miley yesterday, but I thought when Elliot Anderson came on yesterday, he was good. He was quite strong in the middle. It's a nice predicament to be in, to have a lot of local lads, and have them just wanting to play for the club or wanting to just be part of the squad. And that's, that's almost enough for them, because a lot of these players, like I said, I think Dummett, 8-9 years he's been here. He hasn't been playing regular football for the last 2, maybe 3 seasons. If you want to go back, I don't know how far back it's been. But obviously, injuries had a lot of that. But
he's came right through the academy, I believe, Dummett, and obviously he's just had a few loan spells, left, right, and centre. But he's been put on the furniture for a long time at the football club. Really has done.
You'd expect a player of anywhere else to have moved on.
Yeah,
we had the same with Steve Harper. Like Steve Harper, played second fiddle quite a lot to Shea Given and then Tim Krul, and you think, well, if you really want to do something with your career, you should probably look to go elsewhere to get game time. Don't do it and they just turn out to be like local folklore heroes who, they're not like legends, but they're, underlying players that everyone recognises and still recognises to this day. And I think Dummett and, Lascelles, who isn't a local lad, but Dummett and Lascelles will be two of those which, they got us through the really bad times, and they're here for the good times, and let them be here, let them enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really do, mate. Tell you what isn't a nice predicament of Iain. That next draw. Jesus. So we've got that really difficult draw there. Really tough game to be in. Man City, yes, it was at home, but we'll come away. Man City are out the cup. Up steps John Goodman. And now we have Manchester United away, Ian. It's another tough one.
It is. I think looking at the performance of the last sort of 4 performances and looking at Man U, how they are this season, I don't think it's a bad time to play them. Obviously, you'd prefer your cup games to be at home. I think Carabao Cup as well, there'll be a lot of fans going down there. So they'll have the backing. But if you want to win competitions, you're going to have to beat the best. And are Man U the best at the minute? Probably not. But it's just typical luck that we've literally went through a Champions League group stage where we've got PSG, Dortmund and Milan. Our first game in the Carabao Cup was Man City, and then the next we'll get through them, and then the next test is the cup holders. It's just typical Newcastle luck. But again, it's you can't really go down there and play with any fear. If you're going to win the cup, you're going to have to beat everyone that you come up against. So
a rumor has that we have Argentina in the FA Cup.
Fair.
It's ridiculous. But like you said, you have to beat them. You have to beat what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Scott,
totally.
Thoughts on the draw?
I mean, if you're going to play Man U, I think now's a better time than ever to play them because they're a team on a huge transition at the moment, and they're getting results, but they're not playing well. And I think we can give them a game, even though it's at Old Trafford. It's Carabao Cup. Again, we probably won't field our stronger side. They certainly won't be fielding their stronger side. Might be nice to get a bit of revenge for Wembley last season as well, because obviously it's the replay of that, if you will. Like Iain said, you can only play who's put in front of you, and if that is the better teams, as they say it, then bring it on. Like, at least if we do end up going all the way in this season, which I'm not saying we will, by the way, but if we do, no one can turn around and go, "Oh, well, you had an easy run. You played, York and Blackpool or whatever." Like,
Scott, I wouldn't care if said that.
We'll probably get Liverpool and then Arsenal, like in the next 2 rounds if we get through. Like, that's probably just how it's going to work. Yeah, bring it on. Like, we said last season quite a lot that this team has no fear playing against any single side. We should still have that this season because we've only improved the personnel. Yeah, the performances haven't been there, but over the past few weeks, they're starting to get back to where they are. If our blip in the season was those first 5 games, I'll exclude the Villa game because obviously that wasn't a blip. If that was our blip and now we're on the trajectory of going up again, fine, bring it on. Like, this might get clipped. I couldn't care less. Like, we're playing with confidence. The lads are playing back to the way that they were last season. We can beat anyone on that day.
Yeah. And what I just want to touch on before we wrap up, and it's what you mentioned, Ian, the likes of the atmosphere on the ground last night. I think it's what you get with the cup game these days. A lot of people are under the thoughts that because everybody opted into the cup schemes, like that was a season ticket holder, it would be the same people in the same seats, and the atmosphere would just be as it normally is. I called it on Monday night. You're looking around where I normally sit, and there's a lot of new faces in there, and it's where people have, like I said, opted into the cup scheme, then just basically resold the ticket or passed the ticket on to somebody else. It was always going to happen in the cup games, especially after how the club sorted the Wembley ticket last season. That if you didn't have the purchase history there, that you weren't getting a ticket. But that's all that it is. And the moments which you mentioned when he's done that challenge, there was a couple of spells in the game where players where he got on his feet and started trying to gear everybody up, and it happened a couple of times. Bruno was doing it, Joe Linton was doing it, Murphy done it a couple of times, Gordon, and it was always doing it in that pocket, so in the strawberry corner, and it's nothing down to fans being unhappy or anything. It's just people not in the normal seats, mate, and it's really hard to get the atmosphere. Man City brought a lot of fans on. A lot of fans.
I think it was nearly 5,000. I think 4,900 it said.
Had the full tier in a little bit. There was a lot of fans from Man City, which credit to them. Obviously being a Wednesday night. What I want to mention, I completely forgot to do this when we're watching the game. There's a couple of moments, and I've not seen any highlights back. There was one where Calvin Phillips went down, and I think it was something to do with Joe Linton. Then there's another one where Bruno was already on his yellow card, and he clatters into somebody, and Grealish goes running over the ref, wanting him to get booed again. What were those challenges like, if you can remember?
The Joe Linton one I remember, and it's a lot of nothing. Like the 2 players running towards each other, Joe Linton stands his ground, he doesn't stick a leg out or anything. He's just stood there, and Calvin Phillips kind of just whacks into his knee and goes down.
Okay.
And yeah, it could be a bad challenge, but like it's not like Joe Linton's went in looking to hurt the lad. They just run together, and he's just stood his ground. That being said, I think we haven't touched on this either. There was a challenge, I think, in the first half from, was it Kovacic, where he put a slide tackle in. It was a little high on someone's ankle.
Was that Murphy?
Yeah, it was on Murphy's ankle.
No, it was I think that was Calvin Phillips.
Is that Calvin Phillips? But if VAR was playing there, like that could have very easily been overturned into a red as well. Because that was a bit naughty. The game got like that in that middle part of the second half. I didn't see the Bruno one.
So the Bruno incident was the one where Pep got booked because Pep was kicking off.
It was. So what had happened was, you're right, Bruno was on his yellow. I think it was on the edge of their box. He just sort of has a glance to see where I think it's Sergio Gomez goes to plant his foot and slips, and he's stood sort of going to Gomez's ankle, and he goes down and stays down, and we continue to play, and then Pep Guardiola's kicking off, and then that's when they come over and say, well, Bruno's being booked. But have a look on the replay, and even Don Goodman, who I kind of stand, was saying that there's absolutely nothing in that. He slips.
Right. There was like a couple of things where I was thinking in the crowd, obviously not being able to see it. Thing if VAR was playing, then maybe they might be looked at that again. But that was just going off the reaction of the players on the field. But yeah, so nothing to worry about there. Thanks, boys. It's been a pleasure. And Newcastle are through to the next round of the cup. And just bring it on. Like you said before, boys, it's nothing to be worried about. And I think when you draw these sort of caliber teams, that it's probably going to make Eddie Howe put that next level of player on as well, rather than just feeling all the youngins and all the kids. He'll hire a couple of the more senior lads in there throughout as well.
I think the other thing to remember is Man U have just drew us.
Yeah,
like they should be looking at us going, oh God, we've got Newcastle.
Yeah. No, you're right.
What's interesting, just to end it on, I've seen a stat: Man U in the Carabao Cup, the last 12 games have all been at home. Like they just don't draw teams away. Bells. Absolute bells. But like you say, it's a good time to go.
Oh, wait a minute.
No. It's a good time to play them. And it should, like you say, but although they're not great, Man U are still a big club, and it'll raise everyone's game to try and like the likes of those fringe players that are going to get a chance to, like the likes of Paul Dummett, like, if I give my all, I could be in contention to get on the bench next game or not. So like you say, just we'll take it in with stride and on to the next one.
Perfect. Thanks to everybody that has been watching this one or listening back to the audio. If you're doing either of those, just do what we ask on this one, on whatever platform you're watching. Just like the video, become a subscriber, click on the notifications as well so you get notified every time we put new videos out or go live on the channel as well. Listening to the audio, just give us a 5-star rating. It helps us out massively. You may be aware that we have obviously reached the finals for the Football Content Awards as well, for the best Premier League club creator. So basically everything which we do in regards to content has been recognised over at the Content Awards as well. Become a member. It costs just $2.99 a month to do that, and it helps us out massively. Obviously you've given back, helps us with the upkeep and everything else of the channel, and plenty more stuff to come. FIFA comes out on Friday as well, so we've got a few things planned in the background which we're going to be working on that as well. And that's it. We'll be back with the next one. See you later.